This One's Wife. Harry's hammering post-party. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. No, this isn't a reference to Harry taking out his junior carpenter kit and engaging in hammering the right shapes into the wrong holes. Nor was it the case of This One's Wife saddling up with a strap on and giving Harry a good seeing to. I understand that tends to be Sunday evenings when that occurs. No, this is with reference to the hammering that Harry got from This One's Wife post-party. Harry and This One's Wife attended the 70th birthday celebrations for Kris Jenner. They were seen arriving, photographs splashed across the media, Daily Mail describing them as leading the way. Photographs circulated of the event showing them inside. A picture of This One's Wife extending her hand onto Kris Jenner's back, interrupting what looked like a conversation or a dance between Harry and Kris Jenner. A photograph of This One's Wife stood next to Kim Kardashian. A picture of Harry and This One's Wife photobombing. I think it was a picture that was taken with Tyler Perry. Another picture, and this is perhaps the most material one, whereby this one's wife had a face like thunder. As I explained in my video, look at the face on her. It was understood that Kris Jenner wanted a picture with Prince Harry because, after all, he's real royalty rather than somebody who inserted herself into it by way of marriage. This One's Wife wasn't wanted for the photograph, and that showed in a separate photograph which was taken of the incident itself. You could see that Kris Jenner and Harry were huddling up as if they were having a photograph taken, and This One's Wife was very much on the periphery with a face like thunder. Well, it's also been reported that many people were similarly wanting pictures, but with Harry and not This One's Wife. Yes, time and time again throughout the event, it has been reported that various attendees sidled up and asked for selfies with Harry, but didn't want to involve This One's Wife. As you know by now, that is a huge problem for a narcissist, because she needs to be the centre of attention. She needs to be the main draw. By focusing on somebody else and not her, it wounds her. In the context of the attendance at the event, this poses a particular problem for her. First of all, the fuel that she would receive by virtue of that person's attention isn't being received. That isn't a huge problem in itself, because people will have been interacting with her and she will have received fuel from other people. It's not like it would have sent her towards a fuel crisis. But nevertheless, the absence of the provision of fuel is not something that the narcissist can tolerate. Secondly, and more fundamentally, the fact that the attention was focused on Harry and not her with regard to having photographs taken wounds her. It tells her, subconsciously, that she does not matter, and in her world she has to matter. It makes her feel weak, vulnerable, unimportant, and therefore it is the job of her narcissism as a self-defense mechanism to do something to nullify that threat to control. Now, with some narcissists, it might be elbowing into the photograph, forcing their way in, grabbing the arm of an individual and saying, "Oh, I'll come in this too." For other narcissists, it might be the assertion of control by withdrawal, where they have a massive strop and storm off. But neither of those options were available for This One's Wife as a consequence of the fact of her facade management. It knew that she was not in a position to suddenly insert herself into the photograph because that would look bad. It would be recorded as such in a photograph and would cause complications with the individuals, i.e., it would not solve the threat to control. Therefore, her narcissism did not take her down that route. Similarly, her narcissism did not cause her to stamp a cloven hoof and storm off, because that would have been reported on. It would have caused a loss of control in relation to other individuals, and therefore would also damage her facade. The facade management held, although perhaps only just, as witnessed by her face looking like thunder in the picture that was taken alongside Kris Jenner and Harry. Her facade management was given a proper testing, because time and time again, as per reports, as each person came along and wanted a picture with Harry and not her, she was wounded. Then it would happen again. She was wounded again. Then it would happen again. She'd be wounded again. Her facade management meant that she couldn't put herself into the photograph, couldn't storm off. Instead, what she would have to do is simply tell herself, I'm better than them. They don't understand. That person's an idiot. Her dress is hideous. He's got a large nose. In effect, she would, in her mind, be putting those people down in order to make herself feel superior, which would then enable her to wrestle back the issue of control. That's how it works. If she couldn't deal with it directly and couldn't deal with it by active withdrawal, it would be dealt with by way of remaining but jettisoning the individual in her mind. This is quite common with the narcissist, where physical retreat is not an option. Thus, each and every time she was wounded, her narcissism will have reinforced her superiority by stating, they're just envious of me, that's why they're not involving me in the photograph. She's never liked me because I'm better looking than she is. I don't want to be in a photograph with that person anyway. He's hideous looking, and so on and so forth. Whilst this is nasty, and in many instances was likely to be hypocritical and deluded, this is what the narcissism will have done. But then, there's another chapter to this story. Although it will have enabled her to obtain control in the moment, Harry has been painted black. Through no fault of his own, he didn't ask for the selfies to be taken, it was other people. But the fact that he agreed to it and did not involve her meant that his behaviour wounded her also. Again, she wasn't in a position to walk over to him, grab his pink pods and squeeze them and hiss in his ear, you little shit, I'm going to kick your limey ass unless you involve me in these photographs. That option wasn't available to her. And instead, what her narcissism will have done is park the issue with him remaining painted black, so that once they were away from public view, Harry got a hammering. Those of you who have been involved with narcissists will undoubtedly recall the occasions where you knew that there was something wrong with the narcissist, but they denied it was the case, whilst you were at an event, a family gathering, a birthday party, watching the children play football, whatever it might be, and you knew what was coming, because you'd experienced it before and you started to recognise the signs. That sense of dread, the silent treatment in the car home as you try and talk and you're met with silence, the narcissist staring out of the window, not responding to anything that you say, pushing your hand away when you try and reach across to them. And then, once you're back behind closed doors, it happens. The heated, ignited fury that has been simmering for minutes, maybe hours, is unleashed against you. How dare you, yells this one's wife to Harry. How dare you ignore me? How dare you not involve me in the photographs? We are meant to do things together. Salt and pepper move together. Look at you. You think you're more important than I am just because you were born a prince. Well, listen to me, you balding see you next Tuesday. I'm the one that's slaving away trying to bring money into this household whilst you're just getting off your face. I saw you staring at Kris Jenner's tits. Aren't these good enough, she says, gripping her pancakes and wiggling them as best she can at him. Everything that Harry will have done that was perceived as a slight to her will be brought up and thrown in his face, including things which were entirely innocent but have gone through the lens of being painted black, with the consequence that they will take on a sinister interpretation in the mind of this one's wife. Harry will have been subjected to a verbal onslaught. The past will have been brought up. He'll have been unfavorably triangulated with other people. His faults and vulnerabilities will have been raised. He will have got a hammering. And this is all because other people chose to have selfies with Harry rather than her. But because he agreed to it, as a consequence of him being viewed as complicit, he becomes painted black. And then once away from the event, where the facade management no longer needs to apply, that is when she unleashes against him. And you can imagine, particularly those of you who have been involved with a narcissist, precisely what she'll have said to him. A verbal tirade, emotional blackmail, threat, insult, circular conversations as Harry tries to plead his case, even possibly going so far as to shove him and slap him as the heated, ignited fury spilled over until such time as he backed down and apologised and accepted that he was in the wrong. This is what will have happened. How does one know? As a consequence of the fact of what we know occurred in the event, and because she's a narcissist, you put those two things together and you are able to make an accurate prediction about what went on behind closed doors. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.